Turn on your screens, let the magic unfold. Listening and healing as stories are told. Come on, come on, this is your time. No topics too tough, just heed the calls. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the meek. A safe space for all, let's lift every voice. In a circle podcast where hearts unite, sharing our truths, bringing hope to the light. Community strong, we're never alone. Together as one, we've created a home. With laughter and love, we break down the walls. No topics too tough, just heed the calls. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the meek. A safe space for all, let's lift every voice. So join the conversation, let's set the tone. In a circle podcast where love is well known.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Inner Circle Podcast. Today is Tuesday, February 24th, and tonight it's a special night in these United States. So it's the State of the Union. It's the president first State of the Union since his second term. So while he's giving the State of the Union, I know he will be saying our State of the Union is very strong. Every president says that. I was listening to something today. They said the only president I haven't said the union is strong was Jerry Ford, President Ford. He was the only person that admitted that the union was going through some problems. But every president says our union is very strong. But tonight we want to, with everything we have been going through as immigrants, how is our state of the union, right? How do we feel as immigrants? Do we still feel included? Do we feel part of this process? I'm your host, Abe Kamara. I'm here with my regular man, Peterson, from the windy city of Chicago. Peterson, man, welcome to the show.
Yeah, good evening, Abe. It's good to see you. Hope you had a good weekend. And yeah, like you said, tonight is a special night. It's State of the Union. No matter what your political affiliation or how you feel about the current administration, this is a night that people usually tune in to see like where we're at. I know uh, in the news and some people experience it personally about everything that's been going on in the country. So I'll be waiting to see what the president says about all of the, especially the immigration part of uh, this administration and his agenda for the past year. I'll be curious to find out what his take is on that.
Okay, yeah, yeah. And folks, you can join the conversation tonight by putting a comment in the chat or calling our number 952-594-5154. Follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, on X, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your information, or wherever you get your podcast, where we are here to bring conversation like this, amplify, empower, and elevate. A lot of people, I know our folks listening to everybody, especially we immigrants who we are political junkies, whether we like it or not. Right? A lot of folks kind of will tune into the State of the Union tonight, the way. But while doing that, right, how is our State of the Union, right? And as Peter said, after a year of, you know, aggressive immigration crackdown everywhere, every day in the news, there's another policy from the administration about immigrants and immigration. So it's like, do we still feel included in these moments, and things like that? So that's what we're going to be tackling tonight. Um, Peterson, I will start with you, and then I'll come back to me. How's your State of the Union?
What State of the Union having really changed much?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so my State of the Union from before this administration came into power and all the promises that were made. So even if you voted for them or you didn't vote for them, there were everybody was struggling. There was a lot of angst and people like feeling fear of there's going to be like maybe housing, uh, a lot of things were going to be going on. So
Hmm.
prices were up, and I think with the president, his campaign, the thing that really held a lot of people, and people were being like hopeful to say, "Oh, okay, well, even if I don't like him, at least he's planning to bring prices down and like the economy, the immigration, and but as far as I see, things haven't really changed much. And a lot of people would say, yeah, 1 year is not long enough of a time to make changes. But I mean, with the aggressiveness that they've gone with their immigration agenda, if they had tackled the others things that everyday Americans or citizens would be affected by if they had gone to it, I think there will be some change, even if it's not at the level that it would take years to see. We'll still see some changes.
So what you're saying then, basically, in a nutshell, your state of the union is not strong, right? You are not feeling.
Um,
You are not
yes,
feeling the same administration
that's
came back.
exactly
Okay.
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So
instead of it's not
I
as
will,
strong.
so here's my state of the union. I would say, again, right? In all fairness, this is my administration. My state of the union, I would say, is so, right? I kind of agree with you on the economy piece. I think they have a lost focus when it comes to the economy. They campaign hard, to bring prices down, to create jobs. The promise for me is like, I think I voted for the golden age of America, where
Right,
jobs is going to come back. Jobs is going to be abundant. Wages is going to go up. I mean, the data would tell you the economy is doing well, but individually, a lot of folks are not feeling that, right? Prices are still high. They will tell you inflation is coming down, but honestly, prices are still high, right? Especially if you have a family, if you go to the grocery store with your kids, man, it's like things are so expensive. And if you have a family, I don't think your budget have changed much, right? It's like things keep getting expensive. I mean, it's like rent. It says coming down, but those that are renting, I know they are feeling the pinch. Grocery prices are still high. I mean, I was reading the other day, right? Car price. If you're trying to buy a used car, a new car, everything is still kind of expensive, right? I mean, gas prices are coming down. You know what I mean? That's what I mean. I mean, that's a bit of a good news, but in terms of the economy, to me, even though the data would tell you the economy is improving, things are improving, but when you are living every day, right, it doesn't feel that way. On the other hand, when it comes to like the southern border, right? There's when it comes to the border, to me, as I've always said, the administration campaign on immigration, I expected them to just close the southern border. It's like have all the process for people coming to this country, but the way they did the whole immigration thing, I think it has been a distraction. It have distracted them from what a lot of people expected, like me, right? I expected the administration to, try to regularize the status of those that are here illegally, and things like that. We have said that many times on this platform, but then they decided that hey, they were going to get, they're going to get everyone. And then
mhm,
the whole messaging around immigrants and immigration. I mean, even today, I think the guests of the president are those folks or families of folks who were murdered by immigrants. You know what I mean? So he keeps pushing the negative message that immigrants are criminals. His immigration crackdown, his aggressive immigration crackdown making sense. When it comes to that piece, I say I was when it comes to when it comes to that aspect of it, our state of the union is not strong because if you're trying to drive away immigrants, right, your policies, even another the Wall Street Journal reported today, the administration is trying to that is still something that's been in the works, right? They are trying to the president trying to sign an executive order so banks can require when you're trying to open a bank account, or even if you currently have a bank account, they require you to show a proof of citizenship. Banks are not currently required to do that today. But all of these initiative, it just like keep coming like, it's like I mean, just keep coming after immigrants one after the another, right? And when it comes to that, our state of union is not strong because immigrants are part of this society. They make up the fabric of the society. They are net contributors to the society. So to just keep targeting it in that way, to me, I would say yes, that aspect of it, our state of the union is not strong. So my state of the union is mixed.
It's,
You know
it's,
what I mean? It's big. So that's that's what it is.
yeah, I mean, I agree with some of what you were saying, but even as far as like you mentioned the guests of the president being families of people who were murdered by violent or criminal immigrants.
Hmm.
Now, if you look at statistics, it doesn't matter if you're a statistician or you are somebody that knows the data or don't. There are more people that get killed by regular citizens than by immigrants because 99% of immigrants that come into this country, they come looking for a better way of life. And even some Republicans were on have been on news recently, like what they would have thought the administration would do. Everybody who's here longer than 5 years, whether they came legally or illegally, but mostly those who came illegally. If they've been here more than 5 years, they are contributing to the economy. They are paying their taxes. They are paying fines and other things for being here illegally. Just not give them citizenship, but at least give them status so they can become documented to at least be able to work instead of just terrorizing people and going into communities. And we say on this show times without number that if somebody commits a crime, whether you are immigrant or not, you should be held accountable. And
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
are an immigrant that came into this country and you commit a crime, yes, you should get after you serve your time and face justice, you should get deported. We everybody's up for that, but you don't just put everybody into one basket and then go into these communities. And I think it was more like not only distraction, but it was more disastrous to this president's like his legacy or like his agenda and going into regular U.S. cities and just terrorizing citizens.
Yeah. Well, folks, tonight we are talking about our State of the Union. The president delivering his State of the Union tonight. And then we as immigrants, right? How's our State of the Union? Let us know how's your State of the Union, right? Are you feeling the Senate administration came back last year in January, 1 year into their second term? How's your State of the Union? Let us know. So it's like tonight the president's going to be talking about economy, national security, jobs, his priorities, his policy priorities, and Peterson and I kind of have been talking about immigration and then the economy, and things like that, right? I agree with you on the in terms of the immigration stuff, as I've said many, many times. I think, right, if there's anybody who is uniquely positioned, to really, really help immigrants, I think he did it in his first term for Liberians, right, where he worked with the
Yeah,
Democratic
together.
Party
Hmm.
to add, those Liberians are on TPS, temporary protected status, right? He worked with the Democratic Party to get them permanent status.
Hmm.
That was a easy. I mean, it was not as easy. I mean, obviously, Liberians for a long time has been pushing for that. But once he came and he was told that, right, he did push that initiative, and a lot of Liberians that were on TPS benefited from that. The point I'm trying to drive right there, he's one of the person that is uniquely positioned, right, to really, really, get a comprehensive immigration reform through Congress. Because he has a 100% iron grip. I won't say
Yep.
100% these days, right? On the Republican Party, right? On my party. So I think he's in a unique position to pass comprehensive immigration reform. But whoever is in his ear, whoever is telling him that they should go after folks aggressively. Number
Mhm.
one, I think Ms. B and I talked about this on the finance and business segment last week. It's a companies are not complaining. Even in Red Texas, right? It's like it has a huge Hispanic population. Those folks are not going to work. They're afraid. Even the one with legal status, they're afraid because they are being constantly harassed. So Republicans in Texas are calling him, hey man, according to the White House, you guys got to get you guys have to get your act together because this whole aggressive enforcement, the whole aggressive crackdown, it is affecting our businesses, right? Construction businesses. These days, when you are driving by construction site, houses are taking longer to construct. So overall, it's not going to benefit the economy. I mean, there's no way that is going to that is bad for the economy. So it's like he's doing the total opposite, for the economy and things like that, and just creating so much uncertainty. I mean, I know you're experiencing in Chicago, we are experiencing it in Minneapolis. They have told us that they are drawing down, but folks are still reporting activities and things like that. So it's like it's an everyday thing. And with that, right, is that you cannot come after certain segment of the population and then tell us tonight that the state of the union is strong. To me, that's you know what I mean. It's like that would be a hard pill to swallow for a lot of immigrants, right? That would
Right.
be a hard pill to swallow because like you're wondering, where do I fit in? Do I
Mm.
fit into this union, right? Am I still part of this union? So tonight, I mean, is that what is the president going to tell the millions of immigrants that are here?
Yeah, I mean, even when you mentioned about there being like all the data would show that the economy there's been jobs, how would there be a net gain in jobs or new jobs created if majority of those employees they are not showing up to work or they're afraid to go to work or they've
Mhm.
been detained and they are somewhere. So if those are people that were reported in the quota for jobs to say, oh, okay, well, in the construction sector, in this sector, there are this many people working. But if you go from Portland to California to Chicago to Minneapolis and other places, and majority of those that are being detained, well, not majority, these are like immigrants. Now you cannot report data for certain jobs like construction to say, oh, okay, we're still creating new jobs in construction because the positions that were being held by immigrants, those are being eliminated and they haven't been filled. So you cannot. It will be false data if we hear tonight that yes, we created so many jobs and things like that. So and as far as immigrants, I think. Immigrants are large or like the whole immigrant community going to be we are feeling left out because if after coming into the communities and terrorizing people and then tonight if you say yeah we done a great job we because that's what I heard the last couple of days like he's been saying how great of a job the homeland security secretary and her team they are doing and there's no remorse. There's nothing, even with the death of those two citizens, there's nothing to say, oh, okay, well, maybe uh, we didn't go about it the way we planned, but yeah, we were able to achieve or accomplish whatever the goal was. You cannot say that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely agree with you. Well, folks, today we are discussing State of the Union, where the president is going to be giving his State of the Union, and we are asking we as immigrants, where Peterson and I sharing our life experience. How's your State of the Union? He said his is not good. I said mine is mixed. I can't say not good. But again, right, I have to own this. Right, this is my administration. I voted for the administration. I have, with the exception of immigration. And I think I will admit I support most of the president policies, but I mean the immigration piece is hard for me to swallow because I'm an immigrant. I have an accent, you know what I mean. And so when they are hunting that immigrants and verify all of us, right? I feel like I'm not. I don't. I mean I don't belong, right? And that's the thing tonight is like how do everyday immigrants experience the State of the Union, right? Do we belong? I mean to the point that you're trying to drive at, do we feel belong? Do we feel part of this community? Do we feel as part of this country? Right? Because hey, you might have a good job, things might be good, your family might be well off compared to where you're from, right? I mean compared to whatever country you immigrated from. But now that you are here, do you feel a sense of belonging? Do you feel part of this society? Because I was listening to a segment the other day, right? Right now the governor of Minnesota or the state of Minnesota, the governor has proposed $10 million a forgivable loan for small businesses. And there was a caller on this show who said a Caucasian who says like wondering why his tax dollars is going to businesses. I mean, it's going to immigrant businesses to build them out. So it's like, the guests on the show have to correct him. Well, these are immigrants that are paying taxes,
Texas
right?
too.
It,
Yep.
it, it is not only your tax dollars, it
Right.
is it is also their tax dollars, right? That is, I mean, it happens all the time. When they build out Wall Street, I pay taxes, but how many people have a stake, in Wall Street, right? Okay, so those are the things, right? It's like when the government is doing something, whether it's your tax data or not, or even, I mean, what are you, like now they are like the DHS has ICE alone has $75 billion to crack down. I mean for the whole immigration enforcement. Those are our tax dollars. I mean, but that tax dollar is meant what to harass us. What we Okay, so the problem trying to drive her, right, in this kind of environment, do we feel belong? Do we feel a sense of belonging? And I would say, you know what I mean, I would tell the president tonight as a supporter, I would say no, right? Immigrants, despite everything we are doing to contribute to this economy, to contribute to the society, I think tonight, you know what I mean, we don't have that sense of belonging.
Right. Yeah, I think if it was something to say he has any type of empathy or like sense of remorse for what has happened, it would be something that he would mention into his speech, like uh, maybe things got out of hand. Of course, that's never going to happen. He's never going to say that. But if we do live in a perfect world, to at least put immigrants' minds at ease, to say, okay, well, even though this happened, life goes on, and like we always say, this too shall pass. Things happen, and they came from Chicago, they were in Minnesota. Like the numbers, as of I think yesterday, they said there's still around 500 agents or so in Minnesota. So, which means, like you said, there are still immigration activities that are going on, and maybe now they're doing what they were supposed to be doing in the beginning, which is to go after like criminals. But I mean, uh, if it takes 500 agents to do that job, now how are we going to know if that's what they're doing, or they're still harassing people and detaining just about anybody? But yeah, anybody would feel that if it was even regular American citizens, if somebody comes into your community and like harass people, and then the next thing you turn around and see them like saying something different, you're gonna feel like, okay, well, uh, maybe I'm not part of this like union. I'm not part of this group of people because they're against me. Whenever anything has to do with me and my well-being, they just basically like attack me because they
Yeah.
come in aggressively and things like that.
Yeah. Well, folks, tonight we are discussing the State of the Union. The president is giving his State of the Union tonight, and we are just, as immigrants, we are asking him, how's your State of the Union, right? When you hear about the State of the Union, do you feel personally included, right? Do you feel included personally? And so that's the question we are addressing tonight. Peterson said his State of the Union, I mean, quite frankly, since the second administration, it's not good. You know, mine is mixed. You know, I feel bad about the whole immigration crackdown thing because hey, I'm an immigrant. My kids, even though they were born here, but they still kind of fall into that category, right? And things like that. So let us know how's your State of the Union, right? When you hear about the State of the Union tonight, no matter your party affiliation, do you feel included, right? To your point earlier, Peterson, about politicians, I think sometimes that's where people get disillusioned about politics and politicians. You know what I mean? They are never going to admit whether they are right, whether they are wrong. When they are wrong, they're not going to admit that, right? Because their political instincts is not built that way, right? Their supporters, especially our president, he's never going to admit that he's wrong because right, it portray him as weak. The current
Hmm.
administration is always kind of a project strength, so there's no way he's going to say he's wrong and things like that. But when it comes to the whole immigration crackdown, I mean, quite frankly, the way they have been going about it, it's totally wrong, right? But there are other aspect of especially like, when you as an immigrant, right? It's like now, or even like as an immigrant, does belonging means you have to be a citizen or U.S. born citizen? I mean, born here is that because that's the kind of a messaging we have been getting, right? It's like when the administration is talking about immigrant immigration, there's no kind of a distinction that just said criminal illegal aliens, criminal illegal. There's no kind of a distinction, and there was a study that came out I think about a week or so ago by the Cato Institute, which is a Republican leaning think tank, right? Did a huge research, right, and they just published it you know, over the last 30 years, immigrants net contribution, the entire immigrant population over the last 30 years, okay, have contributed over $6 trillion to the US economy. Net, right? Net
Wow.
contribution. And there's a Republican leaning think tank, right, that is kind of a publishing such a report. Immigrants are now a liability to this economy or to this country. They come here. We have said it many, many times on a inner circle platform. They are always net contributors. There are small majority of people that commit crimes. It's a given, but the majority, almost like 90% of the crimes that's committed in this country, are committed by folks that were born here, residents, citizens of this country. Immigrants are not coming here to commit crimes. The other thing about that report that shocked me, even those that are illegal, even illegal immigrants, their net contribution $1.7 trillion.
Wow.
Those are people that are undocumented. But
Yeah,
you and I know how America works.
of
They pay
course.
into they have to pay into the system, right? They are getting social security numbers. Some are establishing businesses, and things like that. So their net contribution to the U.S. economy is about 1.7 trillion. you know so how can you, even in this kind of an environment, why can't you find a way to regularize the status and make them feel included? Yes, close some of the loopholes that exist when it comes to the way folks are coming to this country, right? It's like close some of the loopholes. you know there's so many loopholes in the immigration system. I mean, both parties were made there, but the fact that they are not willing to work together to fix it, and using immigrants as a political pawn, it's sad. It's so sad and things like that. Looking at that kind of the magnitude of I mean, immigrants are contributing to the society, and to be verifying them, and to give DHS and I $75 billion to go after immigrants and immigration. That's just bunch of, I mean, it's so sad.
Yeah, that's overkill, and it's incredible to hear those numbers. That I mean, the U.S. economy. That means in recent history, not majority, but a large part of it is contribution from immigrants, whether it's illegal or legal immigrants. But those are foreign nationalities that come here. They are contributing to the economy immensely. I mean, to hear such numbers, if you think about it, if the administration, they have those data, they have it at hand, but to push that aside and say, okay, well, out of every 10,000 immigrants, just because one person committed a crime, that means all 10,000 are criminals, and so we're going to go after all of them and treat them all the same as if they're all criminals. And if you keep vilifying people, as we say here, I don't know if some people are going to just think like, oh, well, I mean, if I escaped or I left my country because of persecution or being harassed, and then I come here and greener pasture have turned to thorny grounds, and I'm still facing the same, then maybe I might as well go back to where I came from. At least there is my own people. But I mean, and then what you mentioned earlier about the possibility of uh, trying to find citizenship documents if you are opening an account, if you are not a citizen. So that means majority of immigrants that are here, whether they are legal or illegal, if they are not citizens, and like foreigners, uh, they have a lot of assets in American banking system. So if somebody is bringing enough money, but then you tell them like, hey, you know what? You're not citizen, so you cannot open an account here. Then they're gonna take that money elsewhere and deposit it somewhere else, and it's going to impact the economy again in a negative way.
Yeah, I mean, we hope. I mean, not that hope, right? Is that considering how powerful the financial institution in this country? I mean, according to that Wall Street Journal report, right, they're already pushing back on that idea, because that would be kind of a cut, putting a whole slice of their customer base,
Yep.
on the shopping block. Because the reality is, right? Let's face this: even folks that were born here, almost 50% or more don't have a citizenship document.
Nope.
That's just a fact. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yep.
I mean, when, like, the only time sometime I try to get my kid passport, maybe, you know what I mean? It's like when I'm going through, maybe if I get a new job, right? And they say, hey, prove that, in order to get your kids on your benefits, right? Bring their birth certificate and things like that. That's the only time sometimes I go and get these documents. How
Yeah.
many people, have their kids' birth certificate laying around, right? Or how many people have their passport? For some of us that are, immigrants, how many of us have our passport? Not many of us, right? Except you are traveling internationally. But the
Mhm.
reality is, many Americans and legal residents of this country do not travel internationally. Only a few. So to require a citizenship document to open a bank account, I think, whatever the intent of that is, or if you're trying to find out who's a who's a legal who's a legal immigrant, who's not legal, you're gonna just create a shadow economy, people, or shadow banking system.
Yep.
People would not go to the bank. People would not deal with the banks.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I don't think J.P. Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, or U.S. Bank want to ever do that, right? Because you just drive folks away. Okay, if you take the Hispanic family, right? In order for them to prove their startup, for them to open a bank account, they say, "Well, to screw that. I'll just keep my money on my mattress." That's that would just be the reality of that. You know, you yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, well, folks, tonight we are discussing the State of the Union. Right, the president is delivering his State of the Union. He's going to obviously tell the American people, right? To everyone that the state of the United States, the state of this union is very, very strong. But I don't think that is true for many immigrants. So tonight, Peterson and I are discussing how is our state of the union? How's your state of the union? Let us know. Peterson said his is not good. Mine is mixed. Let us know how's yours. But the other thing, where as we talk about the whole documentation, what truly makes someone an American? Because like the way the administration is going, it's a paperwork participation. Because I always try to go back, right? The original Republican ideas, right? So long you come here, you can contribute to the economy. The Republican Party used to be a part of immigrants. I don't know where things change, right? When and how things change. Right? The whole MAGA movement. Sometimes some of us that are part of the Republican Party we struggle to, especially modern Republicans and some of us, right? We struggle. Okay, what do we? Am I a Republican? Or am I a MAGA? No, for me, I'll tell you, man, I'm a Republican. I love the president. I
You know
support some
that.
of his policies, but I'm a Republican, right? But is being an American by paperwork or participation? Because to me, I favor more participation rather than paperwork.
No, you're right. That's how it's been in the past because people, a lot of people who came here in the past, it wasn't. They were not trying to like become citizens right away. As long as they are here, they get opportunities, they get jobs, they are able to contribute and participate in the system and the process. Then they feel that sense of belonging, and nobody used to bother people to say, "Oh, okay, you came to this country from such and such place, and you are no good." And then to go ahead and actually isolate certain places or regions. And like you said, the Republican Party was the party of immigrants, but in recent memory, things have changed, especially with the president's his first term. And I mean, there's always been deportations, there's always been immigration activities going on, but he just ramped it up. And then when he came his first term, calling people from Africa SO countries and things like that, it just makes the whole narrative. And then people who support him, a lot of them uh, they just eat up whatever he says. So if he says, "Yeah, all these people that come from this place, they're all criminals, they are rapists, they are murderers, they are this and that," and somebody's sitting in like a little cornfield village in Iowa, like you said, they are not exposed to anything else, so they hear that, and they've been a diehard Republican from the time they were young. And of course, they don't have like immigrants in their community, but from just what they see on TV and things like that. So it's like when we first came to this country, because of what kids used to see on TV, like when we came, I was in they call it here elementary school. Somebody actually asked me, "Do you guys ride elephants and lions to school?" And I'm like, "Where would you get that from? Like, who has a lion as a pet, an elephant, and you're gonna ride it riding to school? Or do you guys wear clothes? Because all they see on TV, those malnourished kids with flies all over them with their bellies like about to break open. You can see their their rib cages and things like that. So those are things that they're used to seeing and hearing about. Like feed my starving children, like give a penny and you can feed a child in Africa and things like that. So, but the party have just changed, and it's not everybody, but majority of people who are following the president, they want to be aligned with him in whatever he does or says. So secretly, some of them they don't agree with things that he says or does, but I mean, a lot of them have their political lives on the line, so they don't want to mess up. Because if you go against, and they've learned from his first term that if you go against him, unless you don't ever want to run for office again, that's the only time you will go against the president because the base is strong.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you said something, that I need to pick up on, right? But before I do that, folks, tonight we are talking about the State of the Union, right? The president, I think he's probably delivering his State of the Union right now. But while he's doing that, right? I mean, the question to our immigrant community, to all immigrants in this country, how's your State of the Union, right? The president is going to say tonight, the State of the Union is strong, right? America is doing great. He's going to say so many things, right? But as an immigrant, how's your State of the Union? We just want to know, right? Do you still feel part of this country? Do you still belong? Are you still an active participant? Let us know how you feel. You can call our number 952-594-5154. Put a comment in the chat and let us know. To me, that is still a good country. I still believe in the promise of America. I certainly feel why I have a mixed feelings because of the way things are going with immigration. But I still feel the state of this union, even though it's not a perfect union, but we still got work to do, right? But and then when it comes to immigration, but something you said I want to pick up on is about participation. Back in the day, and a lot of folks, even now with the whole immigration crackdown going on, the way things are changing in America, right? So a lot of folks came here on legal status with green card, so they decided, you know what, my green card is enough
Hmm.
because I'm in America, no one is bothering me, right?
Yep.
Compared to Europe, right? Compared to
Yep.
Europe or compared to anywhere in this world, you come here with a legal status in America, no one bothers you. You
Hmm.
travel, you do whatever, and things like that, right? That's a participation piece you are trying to drive at.
Yep.
That's like a lot of folks came here, especially sometimes folks will come here and other people that maybe their country had dual citizenship or their country doesn't have dual citizenship. When they came here, they just felt the need, instead of me getting citizenship, I'll just keep my green card because maybe I still want to go back home and,
Right.
and be politically active. So I don't want anything to do with American citizenship. I'll just keep my
Hmm.
green card because they knew with their legal status they could be active participant and no one was going to harass them, no one was going
Hmm.
to terrorize them, like the kind of environment we are living in right now. Because a lot of folks are thinking to themselves, oh wow, how come I didn't get my citizenship when I
Right.
had all of the
When I had
opportunity in
it.
the world to get my citizenship? And then
Yep.
maybe why you just maintaining your green card back then because it could allow you to be an active participant. If you
Hmm.
have one or two criminal record, you know what I mean, minor stuff, now you're worried because
Yep.
you could come into the administration crosshair and they could
Hmm.
label you worst of the worst.
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
worst of the worst. So the point that you brought up there was like, back in the day, as I said, it used to be, it was all about America value participation when you came here as an immigrant, especially when you came here on a legal status. Even those that came through the southern border or those that came on student visa and overstayed their visa, people have been here working uh on these, on status, temporary status or whatever for
Hmm.
30, 40, 50 years.
Yep.
Okay. Because it was all about the participation. Now it's all about paperwork. How do we flip from participation to paperwork? I have to prove, right? I
Yep.
have to prove that I belong. That's the part, I just wanted to pick up on that, which was a great point that you brought up, right? It used to be,
Yep.
there are a lot of folks, even our community,
Of
you
course.
know, that just have green card because that's what they chose, because America could allow them the opportunity just to be active participants.
Yep. Yep. And with green card back then, you can get just about any job. that you
Mhm.
are qualified to get. You can work anywhere, and you can travel in and out as you said. But since things change, and a lot of people, the change, it came like in such a way that it caught a lot of people off by
It came sudden, Peter. It just
yeah.
came the boom. Everybody
It
was like,
just
"Oh
feel
shit!"
like that.
Even
It's not like
shit.
a gradual change. Like, oh, in the next 5, 10 years, if you are a permanent resident, if you are a green card holder, plan to become no, it's just overnight. So it just threw a lot of people into like this chaotic process. Like, okay, do I get my citizenship? How do I even get my citizenship? Do I even have a copy of my green card? Things like that. So, and I don't know when that change came like abruptly to say, oh, okay, well, instead of people becoming participants and just participating within the process in the system, paying their taxes, paying like other fees, and just staying out of trouble and things like that. Because I mean, in a country as large as the U.S. and having been a country of immigrants, basically, there's always going to be that minority feel that they're up to no good. That's just what they are. It's always been like that, but uh, now in recent years, to make it seem like yeah, there's been a surge in like criminal activity within the immigrant community, which is far from the truth, but it's just it's always going to be there.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Folks, tonight we are having a discussion where we are amplifying, elevating, and empowering a conversation around our State of the Union, right? Especially for immigrants. How's our State of the Union? The president is telling Congress and all of us, here to all of us tonight that the State of the Union is strong. But I don't think that's the case for many immigrants. With the way things have been going, especially if you were, from Chicago or from Portland or Los Angeles or Charlotte, and then Minneapolis, where Minneapolis we got the worst of the worst. We were hit hard when it comes to immigration crackdown. So let us know how's your State of the Union, and things like that. So, but the other thing too, right? I mean, since Trump 2.0, since the administration came to being last year, the language, I mean, the political language have changed, especially around immigrants and immigration, right? It's like, and that's kind of the language have become harsher, you know, it's like, and what is creating, and I don't know, like, there was nothing that caught my eye. There was a lady, a company I used to work for, this lady, she was one of the higher up immigrant, right? It's like, I don't, like a lot of immigrant professionals don't like to really, uh, I would say not like just like to do their work, right, and go about their normal business or go about their normal lives or go about their normal business. But it caught my eye on LinkedIn. She posted, because like how they accomplish person I'm talking about, a
Yeah,
doctor, right? She posted on LinkedIn how she didn't like the fear, the anxiety, the uncertainty, right? She posted without, and then I mean she had a disclaimer on there how her company didn't authorize her to do it, but she was speaking from the heart that the America that because she fled from one of these South American country, right? Because of what was going on. She and her parents came here. She obtained her doctorate degree, highly accomplished working. Now she was asking herself, questioning herself, what has America become, right? The whole language, I mean the political language, right? The way things are going, right? Is that it's creating like I could feel the fear in her voice.
yeah,
Someone as accomplished as she is, when I was reading that on LinkedIn, I said, wow, that's the kind of the political language and to me, and that's what like politicians sometimes, you know, is like that's what a lot of people, as I mentioned earlier, gets disillusioned about politics because pe- I would say maybe that lady, I mean, is like she was probably a Republican, I mean, whatever political affiliation was, but at that moment or the current moment we live in, she doesn't feel a sense of belonging. What she feels is fear.
hmm
What she feel is anxiety. What she feel is like the country that that she came to seek refuge in, that have given her opportunity. Now she doesn't see that opportunity, and that was something that I said, wow. I mean, the current environment we're living in is like it is scary, and there's a reality with a lot of folks, even as accomplished.
yeah,
As they already are feeling it, that is not right.
yeah, yeah. So to the point you were saying, like the president, of course, you said the State of the Union is strong. So I was just reading excerpts from his speech so far, and he's like, in the last 9 months, there's been zero illegal immigration into the U.S. Now, anybody who lives in this country, you would clap for that first part. There's been
Mm-hmm.
zero illegal immigration or people coming through the border.
Mm-hmm.
But then, if you add on everything else that's happened with the zero numbers coming in, with so many detentions and so many harassments, and over, I think they said over 600,000 deportations.
Mm-hmm.
Now it doesn't balance out. So if you would have just closed the border and say, yeah, we closed down the border as we said we would, and there's been zero illegal immigration. People are still coming, but they're coming in the legal way. But then you add on everything else that happened over the past year. Yeah, I wouldn't say that's such a strong argument, because on the one hand, yeah, you did what you said you would do, then you added to that, you just negate the good that you did by going into the American cities. And like you said, there are people who been in this country, highly accomplished people in like leadership roles in companies in different industries, that they feel now like, okay, well, this is not the America that I grew up in, or that I went to school to get educated so that I can work, and I've been working. I've had different roles in different companies and things. Now people, they they're like, okay, I don't recognize this anymore. It's not the same.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, folks, tonight we are discussing the State of the Union. I know the president is delivering his State of the Union right now, right? And he's saying, right, and he's going to say tonight, or if you have already said, the State of the Union is strong, because that's the first line they open with.
Yeah,
The State of the Union is very strong. But I know for many immigrants, right, we are feeling that. I don't think it is. I don't think it is. No matter your political affiliations as an immigrant, I think some of us, or all of us, having, it's like I don't think our State of the Union is strong tonight. Peter's own found out the making mind say it's not strong. For me, as I said, this is my party. I voted for the Republican Party. I mean, I'm not a MAGA though, right? I'm not MAGA at all, right? I I support the present policy about that. I'm a Republican. Any Republican administration come, I will support them, right? And things like that. So that's just what it is for me, and things like that. But I don't like to the point you're trying to say about the whole immigration piece. I think a lot of when you during the Biden administration, right, the way how folks were coming in, 300,000, 400,000, even there were even some liberals or Democrats. I don't think they were against the way folks were coming to this country, right, because the border was
right,
all open. Anybody seeing that would say, "Whoa, what's going on?" Because and then those that were happening, right, they were not only coming when it come in Texas, right? The Texas the Republican governor in Texas would take them and ship them all over the country.
to Chicago.
So yeah, you have folks sleeping, you have folks sleeping, on the street in New York, in Chicago, in other places,
Mhm.
right? So it was like, okay, why can't you secure the border?
Right,
You know, and then I mean, during Biden last term, he realized, no, 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 no. I mean, we can't have the border open. I mean, we need to, put some policies in place. And then Trump came and said, you know what, he lock it down. Boom. Good. I think every American, no matter your political affiliation, will support that.
right.
Where the challenge becomes is that, okay, now that you have done that, why can't you? I've said it here many, many times. Why can't you find a legal pathways,
Hmm.
right, for the 14 million or however many millions that are here illegally, right? Why can't you find a pathways for them? Say, hey, now to your point earlier about the criminals, anybody that has criminal record, the worst of the worst, quote unquote, the worst of the worst. Get rid of those, right? And deport them.
Yep.
I mean, we all support that. If you have rapists now a mix, you have gang bangers now a mix, gangsters and things, get rid of those people. But the rest of them find a way to regularize their status. And the fact that they didn't do that, I think that's where they missed the mark. That's where I think it was a perfect opportunity. And I think the president still have the opportunity, right? I mean, obviously the midterm is coming up. Who knows what's going to happen? But I think the president still have the opportunity to to cement his legacy by seeking comprehensive immigration reform. You know, a lot of folks in our party, in my party, might not like it. Maybe someone sitting in Iowa, right? They might think immigrants are taking their job, but no, immigrants are not taking your job, right? No immigrant in this country is taking your job, you know. And we are not careful, we all might be replaced by AI.
Yeah,
While we are
exactly.
becoming, because, you know, while we are putting our money ourselves, these
Hmm.
people are still making their money. We might all be replaced by AI. So to be here arguing, supporting policy that is so inhumane that is not going to do any of us any good, whether you are native to this country, whether you came here legally or illegally. The way the administration is going about immigration crackdown is not going to benefit anybody.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's not going to benefit anybody. And to me, the other thing, like last week on this platform where Miss B and I said to me, it's all about the money. It's all about the Benjamins to me when it comes to the immigration thing. I think it is a distraction to the Irish American because if you look at $75 billion just for ICE, okay, $75 billion just for ICE, that's a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
Regular fiscal year, that agency only gets about $10 billion in 2024. That's what they got, $10 billion, right? And you give them $75 billion to who's? I mean, it's like I think someone is getting paid. Folks are getting paid, and just a distraction for the Irish American, right? It's like, oh yeah, they are no. Someone is benefiting, and to me, as I've said it many many times, it's just a distraction. At the end of the day, it's like putting neighbors against neighbors, right? Is that what happened in Minneapolis? Is what happened in Chicago? And when it comes to that, right, is that you cannot argue that the state of the union is strong, where in like my Caucasian neighbor, my fee, I'm a threat to him because I'm an immigrant because of my accent.
Right.
With that, our state of the union is not true when it comes to that aspect of it.
Yeah. So uh, I think the immigration piece or agenda for the administration, we've always said like, okay, we don't know what the end game is. Yes, he campaigned on closing the southern border or stopping or curbing illegal immigration, as we said, and everybody's up for that. But there are other things that impact majority of even his own um, followers or people that support him, his own supporters and things like that, which would be other parts of the economy, as far as prices being so high and things like that. So if it's something that he would have focused on right from the beginning to say, okay, let's work on bringing prices down. Let's work on bringing gas prices down, housing costs, and things down. Even if he's still doing immigration activities, because as we said, there's always been deportations. Every
Mhm.
administration have deportations, but it's just about just how they went about it. That's all. So if they would have focused for the primary agenda to be something that would benefit the regular citizens, and then you still have you go after criminals or whoever that you deem is a criminal within the immigration system. No, even people that didn't vote for him or people that do not support him, they would start to lean over and say, "Oh, okay, well, yeah, this I think I can support his policies, even if you don't like him, you will still at least because." You live your life here. Everything,
Mhm.
all the decisions, whether it's wrong or right, it impacts us. It
Yeah,
affects us. So
exactly.
with that, if you are not a supporter of the president and he does something that benefits you or your community, you're gonna nobody's gonna say, "Oh no, I don't like
Hmm.
that he made housing price to go down or he made grocery price go down. I still hate him." No, nobody's gonna do that.
Yeah.
But they set those policies aside and then they went with this aggressive immigration crackdown. And like we said, there's no way to sugarcoat it. It was poorly implemented, and like the whole thing, like you
Yeah.
said, don't know who's in his ears that would have like given him such advice to say, "Oh, okay, switch up whatever you wanted to do for immigration instead of focusing on the southern border. Just like let's get everybody out, and
Hmm.
everybody's a criminal anyway, so let's get them all
Yeah.
out."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, folks, tonight we are discussing the State of the Union. The president is delivering his State of the Union tonight. And I know you have already said our State of the Union is strong, but as an immigrant, has just State of the Union. How you feeling? How you feeling about this great country? It's still a good country no matter what. I know, but I would say the union is not perfect in my opinion. There's still a lot of work to do. But so you can still contribute to the conversation. Great conversation between my man Peterson and I. Discussing our life experiences and some of the things we have, we have observed in the last 1 year. But Peterson, though, right, is the one thing I know what is on us as immigrants. The one thing that get lost in the national conversation is the contribution of immigrants to this country.
Hmm.
The immense contribution that immigrants make to this country. No matter how folks come here, no matter the start. I mean, even if you look at the construction industry, if you look at healthcare, if you look at some of the intensive labor areas in this country, the majority of it are immigrants, right? And stuff like that. But the contribution of immigrants, and I mentioned those numbers earlier from the Cato Institute, right? Is like over the last 30 years, about $6 trillion net, contribution to the American economy. But how come, despite all of the positive contribution that immigrant makes to this country, that get lost in the national debate, right? It feels invisible because the average maybe American, whether black or Caucasian, stuff like that, someone that was born here, right, they will feel like immigrants are a hindrance to the society. Like to your point about prices earlier, rent prices going up is not an immigrant fault.
Nope.
Okay, it's just supply and demand stuff, right? It's just supply and demand. The one thing we all need to understand about America, right? Companies here, this is about profit maximization. If a business have to make $1 million out of you to profit, they're gonna make it. They're not gonna feel sorry for you. So it's like rent prices going up, grocery prices are going up. That's not an immigrant fault. That's not, jobs. I mean, you cannot get a job. That's not an immigrant fault because guess what? The way the U.S. economy is built. Okay, I listened to an interesting piece, to a lady, a professor from the University of Nebraska, who says like the way the economy is structured and is built, it is intentionally meant to have unemployed people. Honestly, and I thought to myself, I said, "Whoa, that's so interesting. That's interesting right there." So, and
Yeah.
she went further. She clarified. She said the reason is means like when companies have so many employees, it cut into their bottom line.
Right.
So they're gonna lay people off, right? To what? To maximize their profit.
Hmm.
Okay. So I said, oh wow, that makes sense. The US economy is the way it's structured and the way it's built. Intention is meant to have unemployed people. So when you're unemployed and you're trying to blame it on immigrants, no. Blame it on the CEO who called your job. You know what I mean? Blame it on capitalism. Don't blame it on the poor immigrant who just came here for a better life.
Yeah.
So again, right? How come the whole debate, like the contribution of immigrants in this country, get lost in the national debate? It's like it get lost in translation because when you hear about immigrants, it's all about the negative impact.
Yeah, that's a great insight from the professor that you talk about from Nebraska, because if you think about like I don't know how many WalMarts there are in the U.S.
Mhm.
and majority of those who work overnight to stock those are immigrants. Majority of them are immigrants. Now, uh, typical American citizen or Caucasian Americans would not, if there's a particular Walmart in your community and they have 20, 30 people for the overnight shift, stocking in all the different departments, you will not have like uh let's say if there were 20, you're not going to have 18 American citizens wake up and say, oh, you know what, I'm going to go do the night shift at Walmart and just like lose cut out on my sleep and work overnight 5 or 6 days a week and work overnight. No, but these contributions from the immigrant community, it gets lost because like we said, there's not people out there to amplify, to kind of bring uh, the narrative and the positive things that are happening in the community to bring it out to I guess the nation. So this is the same reason if you live outside of the US, you would think there's only Harvard, Yale, and maybe Stanford, the US. You would think those are the only like universities or colleges here. Because why? They are being promoted. They are being promoted. They have people all around the world. They have scouts. Even if they are not around the world, they are sitting right here and promoting it around the world. So if you are outside of the US, you constantly hear about those universities. You hear about those places of higher education. Whereas in every state, every community, there is going to be even a community college or something. But it's the same thing with the immigrant lived experience. We don't have people to promote us, and we don't do a good job of promoting ourselves either. Because, like we said from the beginning, a lot of immigrants, we come here, we're not like trying to be all out that we come. Whether you here legally or illegally, people here they come because immigrants are hard workers. A lot of them come. It's all about that grind and hustle. Like, okay, I got family to support. I'm going to take on 2, 3 jobs if possible, and I'm going to so I can be able to support my family and get a better standard of living. And then for people that when you said the economy is set up in such a way to have unemployed people, that is true. I mean, that's a great insight, because if you think about in your local community, there might be companies, there will be warehouses, but how many roles are available for the amount of people that live in that community? It's not they don't have roles for everybody. So if you live in a city that has 1,000 people, even if you have 100 companies, it will be maybe they need 3 employees here and 2 here and 4 here and so forth. So you're not going to have companies that can support the whole population. So in that way, it is set up for people to for there to be unemployment, because everybody can now work at the same job. Everybody's not qualified, and then this is where the competition comes in. Like I told you, I think a year or so ago, no, a couple of years ago, I was in between job, and there was a position. I saw over 500 applicants. It said on LinkedIn. I'm like, wow, for one role, 500 applicants. Now this is when uh our friend AI was starting to come in. So out of those 500 applications that were sent in, 499 of them is just getting like, "Ah, this is garbage, this is garbage," and
Yeah,
just for one role. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely, man. I mean, when I heard that insight from her, I said, "Wow, that's interesting," you know. And the other thing too, as you said, right? Even if you can have like, I mean, Minnesota here, we have like 15, 17 Fortune 500 companies, but guess what? Not everybody might be qualified to work for those companies, right? So sometimes the companies will even go outside to bring, folks. I mean, from outside the community to, I mean, to employ them. So that's a great issue that you raised there as well. The other thing too, let's talk about, like, as we try to wrap this thing up. It's a 1 hour show here, but it's been a great conversation tonight. I know the president is still delivering his State of the Union. So we are discussing, how our State of the Union, we are immigrants. But the other thing was that, like, when it comes to our kids, right? Because like sometimes my kids were when ICE was hot here, my little one will come to me, Dad, they arrested someone in Brooklyn Park tonight. I wonder, okay, what do you have to do with immigration or immigration or ICE? It's like that. But maybe the point I'm trying to bring, right, is like, how do you do this impacting our kids? Because we as, parents or even like first generation folks out here, right,
Mhm,
it's all about the sacrifice, the survival, and the gratitude. I know kids these days take everything for granted, right?
mhm,
But when the kids take everything for granted, and things like that, right? They feel entitled. Our kids these days feel entitled. But how do you think, like, how do you think they will interpret that sense of belonging or their identity, considering, like, places like Minneapolis, ICE came out of Minnesota, very, very active, just detaining people, right? Like, every time I was going out, my daughter, my youngest one would say, Dad, be safe. It's like that word came to her when ICE became active in Minnesota, right? Every time I'm going out, Dad, be safe. You know what I mean? It's, so, right? It's like, what does that do to the identity, right? That sense of belonging and the expectation I have for this country?
Yeah, I think for a lot of children of immigrants, this is a traumatizing phase for them, but uh, they will not interpret it, or they will not show that they are being traumatized by everything that is going on. And like you said, your daughter just saying be safe. Now there will be a lot of kids within her community, either her school or who's been like personally or directly impacted by a parent being harassed and or detained and things like that. So when the kids see that, they are now it gets them to second guess or to think like, wait, I thought this country was this way, but now that a friend of mine or a classmate or schoolmates' parents have been detained or deported, what's going to happen to them?
Yeah.
And kids, many times we just think like, oh, okay, well, they're kids. As long as they have their food and their Roblox and their TikToks and everything, they are good. But uh, many times we forget that they are growing and they see the world in a different way than we do. So,
Mhm.
like, especially for immigrant children that are growing up in these communities where majority of people that they encounter every day are not people that look like them or sound like their parents or grandparents or their relatives do. It can be very impactful to them to start second guessing, like, okay, well, is do we belong here or how, like, and they'll start asking questions like, okay,
Yeah.
how did you get here? Is this
Yeah.
really like our country?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, folks, this is a 1 hour show, man. I always enjoy this kind of a conversation with my man. We're here not trying to amplify, empower, and elevate this kind of a conversation, right? Our State of the Union, right? And he, my man, doesn't always bowl. The State of the Union is not good. Might is mixed because again, I will admit, this my administration, but this is an emotional time for all immigrants, right?
Right.
Emotionally, this is an emotionally charged time, right? It's like so, got to move beyond. It's tough, I mean, obviously while we have talked about a sense of hope on the Inner Circle podcast all of the time, right? But there's that fear, right? But also, it's like immigrant, we are proud people. I mean, immigrant, we are proud people, and also we are resilient people. But also, there's a time for, I mean, there's a time for a lot of uncertainty, right? Lots and lots of uncertainty. So it's like again, the question we ask ourselves, right? How will you describe how will each of us describe our emotional climate in today's environment, right? How will you describe the emotional climate, right? In terms of your state of the union, because everything, even the economy, right? Sometimes the data might say the economy is good, but when you look at your personal economy, sometimes it might not be good, right? So while
Yeah.
the president is telling us tonight that the state of the union is strong, is good, and stuff like that, personally, especially for immigrants, right? Our state of, we might not be feeling that way tonight. Our state of the union is not on that kind of a level. Maybe someone, a Caucasian sitting in Iowa or wherever, might be saying, "Oh yeah, the state of the union is strong because they are getting rid of all of these immigrants from this country, right?" you know, But anyway, well, it's always a great conversation, Peterson. But as we wrap this thing up, man, I know you said your state of the union is not great, right off the bat. But what will you say to other immigrants out there that maybe having the same reaction as you in the first year of the administration, or maybe who don't know, what's there, or they cannot answer that question, how their state of the union. What's your message to everyone out there tonight, all of our immigrant brothers and sisters, kids?
Yeah, it's been another great conversation. Thank you for engaging discussion. But for me, I said my state of the union is not strong, but that's term could be it's not as strong as I would like it to be, or it's not strong at all. But it's different for each person. So, however, you interpret your state of the union, we should all uh, try to find a sense of belonging. Despite everything that the immigrant community have gone through the past year, people from different like specific countries being isolated or being called out and things like that with the immigration activities and everything. Despite all of those, like AB said, this is still a great country, and people still come here with that hope of finding a green pasture, finding a place that it can belong. Although things are changing now, as far as what we used to call like just coming to America, like we said, there are people who lived here 30, 40, 50 years, and they just lived on their green card. They just go every 10 years, they get it renewed, and they just keep pushing. But now things are changing. The political climate, things are different. So always make sure you check yourself to not just your physical well-being or physical surroundings, but make sure that health-wise, that with everything that is going on, that you are able to like at least keep up with things, and just hold up your head and keep hoping, keep hope alive that things will get better, and we will get back to we'll get back on the right track, not get back
Yeah,
to the journey, just get
yeah.
back on the right track.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good one. That's a good one, Peter. Well, folks, man, it's been a good conversation tonight. But here's what I think, a perfect union would look like to me, right? It's like, feeling safe to participate, right? I think civic participation, we have said it many, many times on this platform here. We need to have civic participation in immigrants, right? Feeling safe. And then representation in leadership and media. That's the thing, right? Because again, the reason why our contribution it is always in the back burner. No one's mentioning that when they mention immigrants, it's about crime, it's about fleecing the system, it's about welfare, it's about getting government benefits, it's about fraud, collectivism, right? All of that, right? Because we don't have representation in leadership and media,
Mhm.
right? Because those are the folks amplifying these things, right? Here at Inner Circle Park, here we have been trying to do that, and then even as a community, right? We should try to work together, not divided. Community everywhere, immigrant communities everywhere, right? Whether Latino, African immigrants, Asian immigrants, we should all try to work together because when they are coming after us, they are not coming. They are not saying South American immigrants,
No.
African immigrants. They are just saying immigrants. So I
Mhm.
think the sense of community working together and not us being divided. But I still, you know, it's like I've always said, well, what gives me hope about America? I think even the president, I think he will come around the whole immigration thing. He's someone who, you know what I mean? I don't know who is in his ear telling him that he can magically deport 14 million people. It's not going to happen. So hopefully he will come around, right? It's like there needs to be a way to find a pathway to the 14 million illegal immigrants that are in this country. Find a
Yeah.
pathway for them. Regular rider status. Let us, the immigration system needs to be fixed, right? I think every immigrant, even those that are here, even immigrants that are here, support that. So it's a great conversation tonight, as always, Peters. I enjoy this conversation with you. As we try to amplify this kind of a conversation because man, I think as I always say, I mean, Inner Circle Podcast is the only platform that can bring this kind of a conversation. We're asking immigrants, how's our state of the union?
Yeah.
I think all immigrants, right? Whether you listening to us now, or you listen to us later, man, ask yourself, look yourself in the mirror. How's your state of the union?
Yep.
Peter, his is not good. Mine is mixed because this is my administration. But folks, it's been a great conversation tonight. And Miss B and I will see you guys back here tomorrow for our business segment. Thank you so much, and you have a good night.
All right. Good night.